Good morning, everybody. Hope you're having a great morning. It's going to be a beautiful day, and hope you get to enjoy it. So, I wanted to tell you a thought that I think is a very practical idea and a very basic concept in Chassidism and Judaism, but something that is very important in how we lead our day-to-day life. And I take it from a thought in this week's Torah portion, but really it's brought in many places in Chassidus, and it's quoted as a basic foundation of Judaism. And that is like this: when we read about the 42 dwellings, the 42 stops, the 42 resting places the Jews had in the desert. I told you about this yesterday. The Jews were in the desert for 40 years, and the Torah, as Moses is about to die, Moses is telling the Jewish people, Moshe is telling the Jewish people all the stops they did. There was 40 years, they did 42 stops. The whole Jewish camp would travel together. They would go from one place, they would travel, then the cloud would stop, they would stop. The cloud would travel again, they would travel with the cloud. And sometimes it happened once a week, once in 2 weeks. Sometimes it happened once in 2 years. It all depended on the cloud, which was directed by by God, and Moses led the crowd. But the question is, this week's Torah portion, as I said, we have 2 Torah portions. The second Torah portion is called Maseh. Maseh means to travel. But the question the Rebbe asks in one of his talks is that really the Torah doesn't tell us about the Jews' travel. It tells us about the Jews' resting places, where they dwelled, where they stopped, where they took a break. So why does it call it Eile Maseh B'nai Yisrael? These are the travelings of the Jewish people. It should have said Eile Chaniot B'nai Yisrael. These are the resting places of the Jewish people. You understand? The Jews rested 42 places. They stopped, and that's where they parked. That's where they encamped. They encamped in 42 places. Yet he calls them travels. They're not 42 travels. They're 42 encampments. So why is it called travel, and why is it the name of the portion? And the Rebbe says something very beautiful. The Rebbe says that when a man and a woman or a child services God, when we're focused on changing the world, on being mitaken olam, tikkun olam, making this world a perfected place, making this gorgeous garden that God gave us, plucking it of all the dirt and all the weeds and making it a beautiful place, everything we do is part of the travel. Every moment, even when we're resting in a place, it's all to travel again. It's all to continue on the journey of life, to continue on the journey of serving God, to continue on the journey of making this world a better place. So really, even when you're resting, even when you're relaxing in one place, you're resting because you know you have to travel again. And in order to travel again, you need your strength, you need a rest. But it's about a mindset the whole time. What does he call it? Eile Maseh B'nai Yisrael. Yes, you're resting. Yes, sometimes it was 2 years that the Jews stood in one place. They didn't move. They were going to the promised land. They were going to where God sent them. Yet for a year or 2, they didn't move. But the Torah still calls it the traveling of the Jewish people. Because the mindset of a Jew is that wherever he is in the world, and whatever he's doing at whatever moment, he's serving God in a certain sense. He's making a difference. He's impacting the world. Chassidus explains us that when a Jew services God, his whole mindset becomes that of impacting and changing the world, and therefore everything he does, even the mundane things, even the things that seem simple, even the things that seem irrelevant, are all part of this journey, all part of this travel. You know, you see a runner who's running in a race, and a lot of times they'll step back a few steps in order to be able to jump ahead and go further. Why? Because they need to have that extra energy to be able to sprint forward. But are you going to tell me that those steps backward aren't part of what they're doing? Of course it's part of what they're doing. It's a preparation that they should be able to be perfected at what they do. So when you rest in a place, but your idea, your mindset is to serve God, then you're always serving God. Imagine how powerful that is. So this basically is telling us that whatever a Jew does, whatever you do, if your focus is to make this world a better place, to change this world, then even your mundane, materialistic things that you do, you're eating, you're sleeping, you're relaxing, your vacation, everything becomes part of the service of Hashem. And that's the way Chassidus views the world and views our role. It's not that we have the spiritual things, okay, I go to shul on Shabbos, and then the rest of the time I'm free. Or now I'm just chilling, this has nothing to do with spirituality. No, everything we do is permeated by godliness, by spirituality, and it's all part of our service of Hashem. You know, one of the greatest joys of a parent is to teach their child how to ride a bike. Many parents will tell you they remember years later how they taught their child the first time to drive a bicycle without training wheels. Now let me ask you a question. Any parent that taught their kid to ride a bike, are you telling me your kid didn't fall and get bruises and cried and got hurt? Did you give up and say, forget it, now it's time to move on? No, of course, because you realized that was part of the journey. That there was no way that your child was going to learn how to ride a bike if they didn't fall sometimes. The same way a child will never learn how to walk if they don't fall. But there's also a deeper concept in Judaism. And that's the idea which is brought down in Kohelet, Yisron ha'or min ha'choshech, the superiority of light over darkness. So the simple meaning is that light is more powerful than darkness, which is obviously we know. But Chassidus says that the word that they uses is not Yisron ha'or. The way you could read Yisron ha'or min ha'choshech also means min ha'choshech, that the superiority of light is from the darkness itself. And when there's a darkness, when there's a challenge, when there's a struggle in your life, and you say, oy vey, what am I going to do now? Really, when you take that struggle and you use it to serve God, not only is your light illuminated, but your light becomes stronger from the darkness itself, from the obstacle, from the challenge. I think about it, we're sitting here, we're going into the 4th or 5th month of Corona. We don't even know if schools are going to open. There's a raging debate, should we or not. Things are closing up again. The virus is getting stronger. And we wonder, when's there going to be an end in sight? I know last night there was breaking news with Moderna, with their vaccine, and it seems like it was successful in going into the 3rd phase trial, which is very great news. Even Dr. Fauci himself said there's no other way to say this than saying that it's great news. But sometimes we wonder, what is this? How do we find meaning in this time? And when you think about the Jewish people traveling in the desert, you think about their resting and how God saw it as travel because their goal and their focus was to serve God and to travel. When you think about the idea that the light is greater from the darkness itself, when you take the darkness and you turn it into light, it gets greater. And the same thing is with our time now. Yeah, we might be sitting at home. We might not be able to do the things we want to do. We don't even know what's going to be the high holidays. It's another discussion. But we have to take the time and use and utilize every moment to travel towards making this world a better place for Hashem. We have to always be traveling. We have to always be on the journey that our soul came down to this world from the highest place under God's throne to this world to be able to elevate this world. And every moment we live and every action we do, no matter if it seems mundane and simple, no matter if it's sitting at home for months and just calling someone to help them, or just reading some Torah or whatever it may be, every moment is part of that transformation. May God give us that we should always have moments of travel, always have moments of life, always have moments of joy, and be able to find meaning and happiness in what we do.